In the 1960s, the United States had the strongest military in the world, the best weapons, the most money, the most soldiers, and yet it lost a war to a small, poor country called Vietnam. This war killed millions, divided America, and changed how the U.S. fights wars forever. So how did this happen? How did the U.S. invade Vietnam and still lose? This is the story of the U.S. invasion of Vietnam and the mistakes that doomed it from the start. After World War II, the world was divided into two sides: the United States and its allies versus the Soviet Union and communism. American leaders believed one thing very strongly: if one country fell to communism, nearby countries would fall too. This idea was called the Domino theory. Vietnam had just finished fighting France for independence. The country split in two: North Vietnam communist, South Vietnam backed by the U.S. The U.S. believed if South Vietnam fell, all of Southeast Asia would follow. So instead of leaving, America decided to step in. At first, the U.S. didn't send large armies. They sent advisors, weapons, and money. But in 1964, something changed everything: the Gulf of Tonkin incident. The U.S. claimed North Vietnamese boats attacked American ships. Whether this attack really happened is still debated today. But Congress reacted fast. They gave the president the power to use military force without officially declaring war. By 1965, American troops were landing in Vietnam. The invasion had begun. The U.S. military was trained for big, open battles: tanks, planes, clear front lines. Vietnam was nothing like that. The enemy didn't fight in the open. They hid in jungles, in villages, underground tunnels. The Viet Cong used guerrilla warfare, surprise attacks, ambushes, traps, then disappearing. The U.S. had firepower, but no clear enemy to defeat. Bombing jungles didn't stop fighters hiding beneath them. American leaders believed this war was mainly about communism, but for many Vietnamese fighters, it was about national independence. They had fought China, France, and now the U.S. This made their motivation extremely strong. Many South Vietnamese civilians didn't trust their own government. Corruption was everywhere, so the U.S. was supporting a government that many people didn't believe in. Meanwhile, North Vietnam was united and determined. The U.S. underestimated this badly. The U.S. needed a way to measure success, so commanders focused on body counts. If more enemy fighters were killed, the war was considered successful. But this created huge problems. Civilians were often counted as enemies. Villages were destroyed to deny shelter to fighters. This turned many civilians against the U.S. Instead of winning hearts and minds, the strategy pushed people toward the enemy. In 1968, North Vietnam launched a massive attack. It was called the Tet Offensive. Attacks hit cities across South Vietnam. Even the U.S. embassy was targeted. Militarily, the U.S. and South Vietnam won. But psychologically it was a disaster. Americans had been told the war was almost over. The Tet Offensive proved that wasn't true. Support for the war collapsed back home. Protests filled American streets. Trust in government fell apart. War needs public support. Vietnam lost it. Television brought the war into American living rooms. People saw dead soldiers, burning villages, wounded civilians. The draft sent young Americans to fight a war many didn't understand or support. As public opinion turned, political pressure grew to end the war. The U.S. slowly began pulling out. In 1973, American combat troops left Vietnam. 2 years later, in 1975, North Vietnamese forces captured Saigon. South Vietnam collapsed. The war was over. Vietnam was unified under communist control. The Vietnam War changed America forever. It taught painful lessons: military power isn't everything. Culture matters. Public support matters. The U.S. became more cautious about future wars. Vietnam wasn't just a battlefield, it was a warning about fighting wars you don't fully understand.